Okay, our beloveds, we hope that you got the reference in the Prince song where he starts off, "Dearly beloveds." The fact is, you are trying to get through this thing called life. And let's be honest, it is very difficult when you don't have a connection to the unseen, because the seen can be very difficult to live by and live with. But the unseen is where the magic and the mystery lies. So today we wish to talk about your aspects, because within this is where the magic lies. So we are going to give you what we will call a 3-prong molecule. See your entire self in the center with 3 prongs that go out. The one to the right, for example, at a diagonal, that is the self that is tied to the murderous you, the dark shadow side of you, if you will. And that is the one that you call upon when getting angry to the point of physically hurting somebody or killing them. At the left side at a diagonal is another aspect of self, and that is your mind self, if you will. And that is the part of you that makes the day-to-day decisions within the majority of the world. And this is the part of you that has survived your childhood up to now and has created the coping mechanisms to make you get through the day-to-day, and hence we call it the mind side. It resides in the left side of your brain and is the manager, as our another has spoken of. And then the last aspect of self is straight down, and that is your soul or emotional or heartfelt self. And that is the part of you that is love-based. Now, the ones up above, they are both fear-based. One where you go to an extreme decision, where you physically kill or hurt somebody in order to defend yourself. And then to the left is the one that merely engages in activity to protect itself with words and sometimes actions, but not like the one on the right. And then the one on the bottom is the one that is love-based. And that is the one that guides you in times of intimacy. So now what you need to realize is that when you are in that center point, right, the fullness of you, every time you are pulled forward in life, one of these 3 aspects will carry forward in guiding you through that particular experience. Now, the majority of you reside in above the waterline, either the upper left or the upper right. Very few of you reside below the watermark, which is the loving self. And why is that? Because number one, most of you have had a lot of trauma in your life. So that is what we would call a natural place for you all to reside. And being spanked as a child in itself is traumatizing, because every time you are told you have displeased me and therefore I have the right to physically harm you. And that causes you to reside in a fear-based way of living, because you wonder, when am I going to displease somebody, and what is going to be the painful consequence of that? So that type of parenting always, always, always creates a fear-based response. Now, you can also have fear-based responses that don't come from spanking, but we really wanted to give this very specific example to give you an understanding why most of you, right, have trauma within you that you may not even realize. Now, the bottom one is the processing or decision-making aspect of you that, when it feels completely safe, allows you to go to that vulnerable space and literally to open up that underbelly of you. And it is not that turning over and being disempowered, because that again is a fear-based, I'm rolling over and giving you my power. But this is when you really feel like you are safe and you trust where you are at. When you open up that aspect of your vulnerability, you create real connection. And it is difficult for most of you to get to because of the trauma. You are in the above the waterline thinking or processing place. So now, the reason why we bring this up today is we want you all to understand that when you are confronted with any situation, any decision, any response, whatever it may be, one of those three pieces, and there are sub-pieces, so don't think that this is all there is, but these are highlights, or this is the very basic structure, but one of those three pieces, one of those three aspects will be called on to make your decisions. And so depending upon how you have resolved your trauma will determine which of these aspects you use. And so the majority of you use the one that is mind-based. It is the left side. And it is the part of you that society has taught you should govern your thinking, your reasoning, your decision-making processes, because it is very logical and linear and fact-based, and you have your checklists of the pros and the cons and all of those things, which are wonderful. But if you only make those decisions based on those attributes, but you don't really look at, but what would make my heart melt or sing, we will give you an obvious example. If you choose a mate because he's going to be a good provider, he comes from good breeding stock, he's good looking, he knows how to socialize and connect with others well. Do you see what we're getting at? This is very left brain and logical. Well, when you meet people who have married somebody like that, granted it may be a wonderful business partnership, but how many of those people really are in love and have this beautiful love story, right? So a better place to start with is, does my heart melt when I see this person? Because if you don't, then the checklist up above should be irrelevant because your heart is not there. It's, in a sense, a logically based arranged marriage. Now, what about if you want to get a job? Now, it's one thing if you need to pay your bills and you just need something. At that point, you go with what's available. But if you have some options and some dreams that you wish to pursue and build upon, that's where you really want to go to that heart-based space of you and say, where do I ideally in the long run wish to go? Because what job would feed my soul and make me want to get up out of bed every day with a spring in my step, running towards the finish line? That's what you want to focus on. And then, once again, you go to that left brain logical checklist of how do you get there? But just like when you say, I want to see a yellow flower, and all of a sudden you see yellow flowers everywhere. When you first set an intention of, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a janitor, I want to be a hairdresser, I want to be a cleaning lady, I want to be a gardener, I want to be a dump truck driver. Whatever it is across the spectrum that causes you to say, this is what I desire to be and do, and then you find the path to get there through that logical left-based way of being, that will guide you well. Now, we also want to point out to you, when you are in a space of conflict, and this at the end of the day, when you look at your collective right now, with the political divide, with the economic divide, with the social, the social status divide, all of these things create better than, less than type of a perspective. Depending upon which side of the divide you're on, you may disagree, of course, which is better and which is less. But when you get into conflicts with anybody, regardless of what the underlying issue is, realize that if you keep using your logical brain of, I am right and you are wrong, and you get into a hurt space center where you feel so compelled to win the argument and you're not willing to listen to the other side, no matter the outcome of that circumstance, it's never, believe it or not, going to be a win-lose. It is always going to be a lose-lose, because there is no collaboration, there is no compromise, there is no communal agreement. And so it is, again, a space of lack versus abundance. And as we move into this new space of the patriarchy, we want you all to move into that space of, I want to create a space of vulnerability and openness. I want to hear what it is that you have to say. I want to apologize for what I have said where I have not been willing to listen because I was closed-minded, or I was frustrated, or I was scared, or I was angry. I'm sorry, but let's come back to the drawing boards. And how can we figure out what you are looking for and what I am looking for? And then let's put all of that information together to find a common solution with a common goal, whatever that is. We desire for humanity to come together at this time. But you can only do that if you step out of that upper right murderous aspect of self or the upper left mind-based aspect of self, because those two come out of a fear-based vibration and will not create a collaborative heart-based solution. So if you desire to have better marriages, if you desire to have better relationships with your children, if you desire to have better relationships with your friends, with your employees, within your community, and within the collective as a whole, we need each of you who are willing to really to begin to practice these specific skills. They will take you time. You are literally toddlers who are barely learning to walk, if even at that level yet. You're more like crawling and trying to stand up, and many of you don't even believe in this collaborative process yet. So we're just saying, give yourself some time to learn these skills. So start now, and start on the smaller scales, meaning that when you have more of a minor disagreement, that is a great time to practice these skills, because you're not so far apart from one another with your emotions as well as with the facts that underlie the conflict. And then as you learn to manage this process, as bigger conflicts arise, as you see on the political arena, on the economic arena, on the social arena, we need the leaders to come forth and to show and to teach others how you do this collaborative negotiation to get you all to a communal place of happiness, gratitude, sufficiency, and plenty. A place of plenty where there is enough for all of you, where there is no lack, no worry of lack, and a safety net that protects each and every one of you so you can finally move out of this fear-based vibration and begin to make each and every one of your decisions out of a love-based vibration. So we hope that for those of you with whom this resonates, that you will open up your heart center and simply continue to become love. And all you need to do is set an intention. Intentions create the vibration to bring it into you. When you set the intention, you draw the answer or the solution towards you. And so we ask each of you in your own unique way to say something as simple as, I wish to be a seeker of solutions. Please teach me how to harmoniously work with others to resolve each and every conflict that arises, and to bring the teachers to me who will guide me through this process, as well as the right people with whom I can have the conflict, who will lovingly guide me through the process on the application of these very complex and difficult steps to integrate in order to learn how to do this effectively, efficiently, and most important, lovingly. And so it is. Namaste.